This crisis, though, did not come up overnight. It didn't happen by chance. It is a direct result of governance failure and political interference. Today, we are going to place the facts before the country, exposing the human cost, the cost on the staff, and the welfare of those who have to interface with this system. Our leader of the opposition, Mark Goldin, will play for you play by play what has happened since this crisis began unfolding. After which, Dr. Dawes will take you with the facts, and you then will have to make the decisions. We'll take your question after the break when we come back.
Good morning. I'll go first. So many have been wondering, why did we take so long to do a press conference? And it's a simple reason. After every scandal that he has faced, the Minister of Health has gone on a cross-country tour and gone on every talk show and produce a lot of news to drown out whatever it is that we're bringing attention to. And as a result of that, he has been able to escape time and time again, scandal after scandal. So we decided to do things a little bit different. So we brought things out in the media in a creative way. And then we allowed the minister to do his usual tours. And you would have seen over the last few days that he has gone to most of the hospitals. There have been a lot of sound bites, a lot of stories. He has been on a lot of talk shows. And all of this has served to kill the discourse of what is happening at the university hospital. So now that he has done what he usually does, we are now going to have the press conference that so many are dying for. So we want to bring back the attention to the University Hospital of the West Indies this morning. And the reason why we have to bring back the attention to the University Hospital of the West Indies is because it is the premier teaching hospital in the Caribbean. So it's not just a regular hospital where you go and get treatment. This is where doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, lab techs, many healthcare workers are trained. And if the university hospital loses its accreditation, it can impact on healthcare across the region. Not only does it serve as a teaching hospital and it is in danger of losing its accreditation and as a result affecting the University of the West Indies, but it sees about 10% of the Jamaican population every year, and it is a type A referral hospital. So we have to preserve the University Hospital of the West Indies. And what has been happening, especially over the last few years, is that the hospital is almost in a death spiral because of poor governance. Now, the minister has repeatedly distanced himself from what is happening at the university hospital. And he has basically cast blame on the departmental heads. And we cannot allow this to happen another time. We cannot allow the deflection and the distraction to allow it's far to take away from the substantive issues. We have to stop it now because the consequences are too great. When the former board tried to enact reforms, they saw evidence of fraud, they saw procurement irregularities, and they sought to correct them. They had a CEO brought in after an exhaustive process where they had over 30 applicants. That CEO was a professional who was supposed to bring forward the reforms at the university hospital. The acting CEO of the time was not shortlisted. He was not deemed to be qualified for the job. But then the minister directly intervened and the board was dissolved. A new board was formed. The CEO who was selected to oversee the reforms at the university hospital had gone back by because they thought that they were going to work in a hostile environment. And who did this new board select to be the CEO? The same acting CEO who was not qualified for the job, according to the HR panel. This is the same CEO who has overseen the scandal that has plagued the University of the West Indies that we're seeing in the Auditor General's report. Now, when a minister steps in and fires a board who is trying to enact reforms and puts in place somebody who presides over uh, massive mismanagement leading to this scandal that we're seeing today, he has to accept some responsibility. Because in firing the board and putting in place what some may say is who he favors, he has given his imprimatur on the governance structure of the university hospital. And then those who he favors, they go around acting, in the words of the staff, like absolute monarchs. And this has led to an HR crisis at the university hospital where disaffected staff have written letters of complaints, where they've had meetings where the notes have been sent to the board crying out for change. They have highlighted procurement issues, irregularities. They have been sidelined from the process. There has been a mismatch between what they need to function properly and the needs of the senior management of the university hospital, leading to dysfunctional equipment and services not being able to attend to patients because there has been a reliance on infrastructural developments rather than giving them the tools they need to work with. We have to mention, of course, the Sagicor Foundation's donation to the hospital. And it is being spun as if we are attacking a private sector entity. No, we're not. We feel sorry for Sagicor because Sagicor had all good intentions to help the pediatric unit at the university hospital. The pediatricians were very involved in the Sagicor Foundation's efforts to raise the funds. But then Sagicor was misled, hoodwinked, taken for a ride by senior managers at the university hospital who told them that the pediatric department had bought into the reallocation of the resources. So instead of the $75 million going towards the pediatric ward that it was initially earmarked for, it went towards a CT scanner purchase. And the poor organization, not knowing what was going on, went along with it. The pediatricians were basically told by some managers that they are not getting the money. The money is going to be used elsewhere and they have no say in the matter. In their words, they feel like they were used. And it's situations like this that has led to low staff morale and has led to poor service at the University Hospital of the West Indies. And if it continues this way, you're going to see the death of a regional institution. Now, when you speak about reforms, immediately after the tabling of the Auditor General's report, when it became public, the minister announced a panel to look into the operations of the hospital and what exactly could have been done to prevent this scandal from unfolding. And it seems genuine when you look at it, that we're seeing the report coming out and then the minister taking decisive action less than 24 hours later. But they knew about the report from last year. Why wasn't this panel announced last year? Because the panel is only to serve as a distraction for you to wait 4 months, lose interest, and then you would move on to another scandal somewhere else, maybe Cornwall Regional, and then this matter would die a slow and painful death. But the minister did not need to empanel another set of individuals to look into the findings of the Auditor General report. In fact, there was already an investigative report, And this was submitted to the board from November last year. And this investigative report looked into the Auditor General's report, and it found evidence of similar things: a lack of procurement plans, lack of documented controls, repeated internal audit warnings, fragmented governance structures, insufficient staffing. And when it went through department by department to show that the procurement department had staff that were not trained in procurement, there's a lack of digitization, and there was no documentation of internal controls. The finance department was weak. The internal audit department, they repeatedly flagged issues, but no action taken by management or the audit committee. And of course, they had insufficient staffing and insufficient space to perform their duties. You look again at system-wide governance failures. Audit committee not performing its statutory role, CEO and senior directors not enforcing internal audit recommendations, no coordination between internal audit and risk management, and of course, again, insufficient digitization. The office of the CEO was flagged repeatedly for breaches. The CEO, reading from the internal audit, the internal investigative report, the CEO confirms ultimate responsibility for operational decisions, including procurement approvals. We know where the buck stops, and we know who allowed the buck to stop there. So we do have not just the findings, but we have the recommendations. So I don't know what this new panel is going to add when this investigative committee has already said that we should establish board-approved annual strategic procurement plans. We should have digital procurement. We should have immediate training and certification of all procurement staff, increased staffing, and of course, strengthening the audit committees. It's all here. It's all here. There's no reason to have another panel. Is the minister aware of this investigative report? And if he is aware of the investigative report, why was this not made public? And why is he creating another panel instead of insisting on these changes? Again, it speaks to PR over the need and the political will for reforms at the university hospital. And I'm going to close by reading something. In spite of everything that's happened, repeatedly, scandal after scandal that have been brushed away by an untouchable minister with his untouchable servants, we have to take firm action in this regard. It is a dark day for Jamaica, where the Prime Minister is unwilling or afraid to act against a minister in which the public has lost total confidence, and in which the institutions of the society are all agreed that this person does not enjoy their trust or faith and has breached the confidence that the people have placed in them. These are not my words. These are the words of Dr. Andrew Holness when he was leader of the opposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dawes. I come to this matter as somebody who was born and grew up on the university campus. My father served at the University Hospital of the West Indies for over 40 years to the date of his death. And as a youngster, I used to frequently visit Ward 17, which was the ward that he headed, on Christmas Day, giving out presents, etc. So when I see this cherished institution, which was the leading light of the University of the West Indies as a tertiary institution, and had built a reputation of excellence over many years, coming to this point, this very low point, where the Auditor General has exposed system failures, governance weaknesses, malfeasance, procurement violations, and where anecdotally one hears on a regular basis the dire situation faced by people who come to the hospital and need medical care. It really is a travesty, and it pains my heart as somebody who has this long-standing familial connection with the institution. This is a government that doesn't hold its leaders to account. There's no accountability within the Andrew Holness administration. We have a Minister of Health who has gone from one scandal, one massive failing to the next. From the Cornwall Regional Hospital debacle, still unresolved, the dead babies situation, and there's no accountability. And this situation at the University Hospital is one that he cannot wash his hands of. The reason being that he was responsible for disbanding the board of the hospital that had commenced a process of getting the systems, the governance, and the management of the hospital into a state of good order. They had commenced, most importantly, a CEO recruitment process. And that was a professional and transparent global search for a suitably qualified and experienced person to take over as the chief executive officer of the hospital. And a firm that was experienced with Government of Jamaica protocols, received over 40 applications, shortlisted 6 qualified candidates, and the board's Human Resources Subcommittee unanimously selected a top candidate who happened to be from overseas. That board also implemented successfully long-stalled hospital information management systems that have been inactive since 2017. And they had revived that in 2022, 2023, and were getting that on track. And an internal audit had uncovered irregularities in contract awards and purchasing, and the board detected suspected fraud in the payroll department, and that had led to arrests. And the board initiated measures to recover over 30% of potential billing revenue that was being written off or uncollected before their tenure. This was a board that was working. This was a board that was seeking to address deep structural problems in the governance and management of the hospital. The account of the then chairman of the board that was dismissed, I think, in December 2023, speaks to the selected CEO candidate having withdrawn due to unwarranted pushback from elements that were opposed to this positive change. Prevention of the automatic permanent appointment of the acting CEO. Seeking to do that, the board voted to appoint another senior director as acting CEO because they were faced with a situation where the chosen person was effectively driven out, and they did not want to return to the status quo which they were seeking to move away from in a positive direction. And that is when the minister intervened, overturned that board decision, insisting that the former acting CEO remain and that the search for a new manager, new CEO be restarted. The then chairman resigned on December 4th in the face of this interference, stating that the situation he had found himself in was untenable. And the minister then dissolved the entire board and appointed a new one. That is the context in which this Auditor General's report must be seen. This Auditor General's report that has uncovered numerous serious failings in governance, procurement, and general management. It has happened under the watch of this minister, a minister who has interfered in an attempt, a legitimate and bona fide attempt, by a previous board to rectify the situation. Most importantly, from going through a process to recruit a suitable and qualified person to take over the day-to-day responsibility of Chief Executive Officer, a process that was thwarted and the status quo was allowed to remain, and we see where we are now in a mess. The buck stops with the minister. The university hospital is too important to Jamaica's national development for this to be allowed to go with no one being held accountable. It is just another incident in the litany of malfeasance, of corruption, of nepotism, which has been a feature of the Andrew Holness government for the last 10 plus years. And although the frequency of these incidents is such that people tend to become immune to them, it is our responsibility as the opposition to bring it to the attention of the people of Jamaica and to frame it in the appropriate context so that people can recognize the dangers of allowing these things to go unchecked without proper accountability for those whose responsibility it is to prevent these things from happening or to take the right steps to move forward and solve them. And that is why we call this press conference today. Thank you.
Now, there you have it. If you have questions and you're in the room, please indicate by raising your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. Please say your name and the news agency you represent. If you are online via Zoom platform, please use the raised hand icon. We will acknowledge you. If you wish to speak, you'll be acknowledged and you'll be permitted to go ahead, or we can read a message and question for you if you put it in the chat.
Good morning. My name is Nekiesha Robinson. I'm from TVJ News. My question is for the opposition leader. Mr. Golding, the medical company owned by the party's chairman for Region 3 and MP for East Central St. Andrew, Dennis Gordon, has been linked to benefiting from the unlawful tax cuts at the university hospital. Now, in light of your tough stance against corruption, how are you treating with this matter?
At this point, the only formal investigative report we have is the Auditor General's report. And that report does not name any specific company as being involved in anything. It points out that certain companies appear to have received certain benefits and raises real concerns about that. And when those matters are formally investigated, the chips will have to fall where they lie. But at this juncture, I'm not prepared to talk about any specific company because none has been named in any official report. And all you're going on is things that have been said by certain media houses. And I don't want to engage in that.
Follow up to that question, Mr. Golding. Siobhan Campbell from Nationwide News. The matter raised by my colleague, have you actually raised it with the chairman of Region 3, that's Dennis Gordon? Has he given you an explanation or an answer regarding the allegations raised?
First of all, I just want to wish your CEO, I assume he's your CEO, your leader in Nationwide, a speedy recovery from his recent health challenge. I hope he recovers well and quickly. And in terms of your question, I've had discussions with the person to whom you referred. Those discussions are not matters that I would disclose the details of. Suffice to say, he knows my position because my position is not new, and he agrees with my position that chips must fall where they lie if there's anything in any kind of allegation. But at this juncture, he has maintained that he has done nothing wrong, and I have no reason to doubt that because I haven't seen any official investigation, any official report suggesting otherwise. And I'm not prepared to engage in any speculative chase after any individual, which is just based on rumor or based on conjecture or based on information, the source of which we have no knowledge of.
Recognizing Zara Burton online, please unmute and go ahead with your question.
Ms. Burton, if there has been any instance of taxes or duties that are properly payable having not been collected because of the way in which things were done, and those things were an improper situation, then those taxes should be collected and whatever sanctions are appropriate should be imposed. I really have nothing further to say on it than that.
Um, okay, Zara, thank you so much for that. As the leader of the opposition said earlier, we are not in any position to confirm or deny or substantiate anything that has been said by a particular media house about this topic. All we have is what the Auditor General has put on the table. The Auditor General's document has not named the company you sought to name just now, we would not be irresponsible to bring information and speculation to the table right now without further, because that is injurious to all parties involved. As the leader said, his principle and the principle of the People's National Party is that the chips will fall where they lie. All parties are aware of this position. Please go ahead with your question, Siobhan.
Yes, unless there's more questions regarding this matter, I did make a promise to my listeners that I would ask this the next time I had an opportunity, so I bring it here. We're still in the recovery phase from Hurricane Melissa. The People's National Party has courted donations from individuals on behalf of that effort. Is it the intention of the opposition to make available to the public what has been collected in terms of the quantum and what that sum has been used for in the spirit of accountability?
Well, the People's National Party has always been very transparent and open with our financial accounting annually. That is published, audited financials, and I'm certain that this will form part of that process. In the meantime, we urge the government to be transparent and candid and to tell the nation what they've done with the millions they've raised in the name of Jamaica to build back constituencies such as South St. James. We're still waiting to get some of that.
So, yes, we have put in place a structure. We created a new structure after Melissa with a national disaster risk management committee within the party. There's a chairman who is Fitz Jackson. There's a projects director who is the treasurer of the party, Senator Nekiesha Anderson. And part of their mandate is to ensure that there's full accountability and accounting for any relief that is administered through the party. So those reports will be prepared and will be made available in the appropriate channels. What I would say is that what we have heard is that there have been many billions of dollars of emergency procurement by the government. Emergency procurement means that there is no proper tendering and you don't know whether you're getting value for money. Now, I'm not saying that the circumstances didn't warrant using that procurement methodology. What I am saying is that the accountability for those resources becomes all the more critical. And we don't know what mechanism the government is going to provide to assure the public that those resources have received value for money. I remember arriving in Black River a few days after Melissa, and I saw a member of parliament, not from St. Elizabeth, on a street corner. And when I asked, I was told trucks were being used for the cleanup. So there you go. From the day one almost, the potential for nepotism, the potential for persons getting the benefit of their inside connections was being manifest. And so I feel that this is very important and that I ask the media to ensure that they hold or try their best to hold those who are responsible for these huge resources being expended are held accountable for how it's being done. Similarly, in relation to the university hospital matter, I realize that the media is fixating on the allegation made by one media house. But when you look at the report, there are many important issues in that report that need to be addressed and should not be swept under the carpet. There are multiple players involved, and it's important that we don't abandon any kind of balance in how we deal with this thing and focus on what is actually before us from a credible source. And the only credible source presently having provided any information to the public on this is the Auditor General through her report. And to the extent that she has findings in there that warrant further investigation, I expect those further investigations to be done by the appropriate authorities. And when they make their findings, we will address them. But at this point, we're not proceeding on the basis of speculation, character assassination, or anything of that nature. As I said, I have spoken to the persons involved. They have given me certain assurances, and at this juncture, I'm waiting to see how the matter develops in light of the report that we have, which is the Auditor General's report.
Recognizing Janella Perseus. Please unmute and go ahead. All right, so I'll take the first and the third, and the party leader will speak to the issue regarding the permanent secretary. So I'll say again what has been said by Mr. Golding and that I repeated. Mr. Golding had conversations with the named individual. He was given certain assurances. Mr. Golding also conveyed to the member in question that the party's position is, as is Mr. Golding's, that the chips will fall where they lie. With respect to the third question, today we are discussing a national health crisis that has the potential to derail the health conditions of many mothers, children, lots of people who are sick and needing health care. We wish to focus this discussion on that topic. We will, however, allow Mr. Golding to speak about the permanent secretary issue since you've raised that, but we want to refocus to the main issue. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Janella, your first question was already answered. I don't see the need to repeat what I said before. In terms of where the chips lie means, that would depend on what the chips are. I can't speculate at this point as to what may or may not arise. On the third question, I'm here. I'm doing the party's work, and we're going through a process of appraisal and making the necessary organizational decisions so that we will get past the line next time. We were very close last time. If you add up the 4 seats that we needed to form government, and the total margin of adding up all 4 seats between the parties was 1,097 votes. That's how close this election was. So we have a lot to be encouraged by, and we're going to be doing the necessary things that we need to do to make sure that next time around we cross the tape first. In terms of the second issue, my concern is that the permanent secretary in a ministry is a very senior position in the civil service. That person is the administrative head of the ministry. It's a permanent secretary. It's a permanent position that lasts for the career of that individual normally, once they're appointed, the rest of their career. And our tradition and our expectation is that the persons who hold those positions are not politically connected, are not known to have any kind of political affiliation or connection, because they have to serve successive administrations and must command the trust and confidence of the government of the day, which will change from time to time in a democracy such as ours. And that is the reason why I objected to this particular appointment. I have nothing against the individual concerned. Indeed, I've had quite cordial and productive dealings with her over the years as an MP through when she was in her former position. It's nothing to do with her as an individual. It's the principle of this which is important. And we mustn't allow our principles to just slide away. At the end of the day, we're just governed entirely by opportunism and what suits the power interests of those who hold power. We must protect the democracy that we have and not take it for granted. Surely international events show the importance of that. And that is why I said what I said in relation to that specific appointment.
All right, we want to thank the members of the media who took the time to join us today. We hope that you'll be able to telegraph to the public the issues that were raised today by Dr. Dawes and the leader of the opposition. These are issues of national importance, and we hope that they will be given the time to be ventilated in a proper space. Thank you for joining us. Good morning.